It all started in February of this year when I landed in Ho Chi Minh City with my TEFL certificate, passport, my master plan, and my life savings, with the goal of securing a business English teaching job. But unfortunately, it didn't work out, even after 4 months in Vietnam, despite my best efforts. So I came back to the United States about a month or two early. In this video, I'm going to tell you about what I did to prepare for this journey, research that I did, and the differences between your research and the boots on the ground reality of Vietnamese cities. Mistake number 1, choosing the wrong city. I'd landed in Ho Chi Minh City just as a starting point. My plan was to be there for a couple weeks, shopping for a new laptop computer because the one I had owned crapped out on me right before I left the United States again. So my goal was adjusting to the 14-hour time zone difference, computer shopping, logistical things like that. And then in March, I went up to Da Nang for about 3 weeks where I had a job interview, 2 of them actually, and I also got some of my paperwork translated and notarized. And then from Da Nang, I went to Hanoi. I was in Hanoi for all of April and most of May, and then the first couple of days of June before doubling back down to Saigon in June to start all over again. And then in the middle of July, I'm on a plane back to the United States for several different reasons. First one was my job search not working out. Other reasons have to do with family and my savings. But here's the real kicker. If I had to do this Vietnam journey all over again, I would have flown to Hanoi first. Why Hanoi to begin with? Well, it's the nation's capital. It's got a 4-season climate. It's a very culturally rich and diverse city. It's actually 1,000 years old. I enjoyed my time in Hanoi. I was there about 2 months collectively. But the thing with Hanoi is I found pretty quickly that the TEFL, teaching English as a foreign language job market, was definitely heavily skewed towards teachers of young learners, elementary school children. There was a huge demand for kindergarten teachers, which that's not my area. I'm not trained to work with children. My areas are teaching business English to working adults to benefit their careers, as well as IELTS, IELTS exam test preparation. That's a standardized test of English for people who want to move to an English-speaking country or study in an English-speaking country, like the United States or Canada. So I spent most of my months of April and May searching in Hanoi. I tried job boards, Zalo groups, Facebook groups, sending cold emails to corporations. When the job boards thing wasn't working out, I was responding to LinkedIn jobs on Facebook, talking to a couple of different recruiters on Zalo. I even had the chance to give a demo lesson. I gave a demo lesson for an English-speaking class for adults, and I was pretty much offered the job on the spot, but I had to turn it down because it was only 2 evenings per week for an hour and a half, so that's 3 hours per week. The salary was fine. I think it was 450,000 dong per hour, which it's not the highest, but it's a fairly decent rate. I think 450,000 dong, that's about $17 to $18 an hour. But the thing was, they don't offer a work permit because it was only a part-time job. So without work permit support, I couldn't get a work permit. And I'm not willing to work in a foreign country without a work permit. I want to do things by the book. And so I had to turn down the job, and they were starting to push back and say, is it the hourly rate? We could pay you more if that's an issue. I said, well, no, this is I really need to focus on full-time jobs that offer visa sponsorship. And so that was the end of it. That was the only job I was offered during my time in Hanoi. If it was full-time or close to full-time and they offered a work permit, then I would have taken the job. At least it was working with adults. But it didn't work out in Hanoi. So then I went to Bangkok, Thailand for my 1-week visa run, came back to Hanoi, packed my bags, and then took the train back down to Saigon to try all over again. I should have realized the first time that Saigon was the place I should have stayed. Maybe fly into Hanoi first, do some sightseeing, and then go south to Da Nang, do some more sightseeing there. The beach was wonderful. Of all the places I had been in Vietnam, the top 3 cities, I liked Da Nang the most. It was the most livable for sure, but the most competition for jobs, and being that it's the smallest of the 3 cities, Ho Chi Minh City is the first, followed by Hanoi, and then Da Nang is the 3rd largest. So in terms of overall job opportunities, Da Nang had the smallest market, given that it's the smallest city of the 3. So it was either Hanoi or Ho Chi Minh City. I preferred Hanoi's 4-season climate, but as I said earlier, that wasn't the right job market for me. So I came back to Saigon, having spent the first 3 months spinning my wheels, sending out lots of applications, but I only had 2 job interviews to show for it and 1 offer for a job I couldn't take. So learning from my previous mistakes, I went back down to Saigon and I was putting out feelers. I had a couple of interviews in Saigon, one of which was with a company called Aroma English. They sounded perfect. Adult business English for working professionals, flexible work schedules, maybe a hybrid structure. Sounded perfect. And I walked in. I came in without an appointment, but they were willing to talk with me. They had a recruiter interview me. It was a nice conversation. I left the meeting feeling more confident than I ever had before in my entire time in Vietnam. Happy Friday. So, just got out of my first language school visit, prospecting visit for the day, Aroma English, where they specialize in business English, my exact lane. And so I had a nice conversation with a guy named John. I apologize for coming in unannounced. I'm not calling ahead. So yeah, it's a nice conversation. He's going to take my CV, introduce it, have his superiors review it. And he's got my email. I told him about my website. He sent me a message on Zalo. That's it's like WhatsApp, but it's here for Vietnam. And so I should hear back from him in about a week's time. So I feel very good about this meeting. This is like the best meeting I've had so far. Other places just like a very quick 1 or 2 minutes. This is about 10, close to 10 minutes. So now I'm going to get a grab car and go to Wall Street English next. But unfortunately, the day after, a different staff member called me, a different recruiter called me, and she said, unfortunately, I'm sorry, but we don't offer any full-time jobs and we can't help you get a work permit. I would have had to get a regular full-time job with visa sponsorship and then contacted Aroma English for additional part-time work. That could have worked out, but I couldn't even get the first job, let alone the second job. If I had the opportunity to do this all over again, not only would I have started in Hanoi for a couple weeks and then a couple weeks in Da Nang and then landing in Ho Chi Minh City by the beginning of April, that would have probably gave me more momentum, and I would have done the visa run in Thailand and came back to Saigon in June for another 3 months. I could have stayed until the end of August, but wanting to come back to Arizona for my son, that cut my trip short. But still, Saigon is a better market for business English teaching jobs. There's just unfortunately either not enough time or just wasn't meant to be to begin with. It's just all the recruiters I dealt with, except for one recruiter, they were all recruiting for kindergarten teachers and children under 12. I tried IELTS testing opportunities. I still couldn't get an interview for an IELTS job, so disappointing, but I still enjoyed my time in Vietnam, and I'm glad I went. I definitely got some good experience out of this. For those folks who are thinking about teaching English in Vietnam, know that until September, it's not a part of the Hague Apostille Convention, and so instead of getting your teaching credentials apostilled, you need your 4-year degree. Your bachelor's degree has got to be consular legalized. That's a much more complicated procedure that costs a lot more time and money. I spent about $2,500 on getting all 3 of my papers legalized: my college degree, TEFL certificate, and FBI check. You've got to get a criminal background check. You've got to get your fingerprints rolled, sent to the FBI. They produce your background check, and then you've got to get it legalized by the U.S. State Department and the Vietnamese Embassy. For state-level documents like your college degree, you've got to get your Secretary of State of the state where it was issued. They have to stamp it. State Department's got to put their stamp on it, and then the Vietnamese Embassy. And then your TEFL certificate, the same drill, except my TEFL certificate was issued in Mexico, so I had to vet and hire a vendor while I was traveling in Belize and Guatemala. I had to find a Mexican vendor I could trust with my one and only TEFL certificate. I shipped it to them via DHL, and then they took I think 3 months for my teaching certificate to be fully legalized in Mexico. And then when I was in Hanoi, I had to get another FBI background check done because they're only good for 6 months. Once you get your FBI background check done, look at the date it was issued. So when you get to Vietnam, your FBI background check can't be more than 6 months old, and it has to be fully legalized, and it's got to be then translated into Vietnamese and then finally notarized by a Vietnamese notary public. So it's a very complicated multi-step procedure. I would not recommend this. If you're TEFL certified or CELTA certified or TESOL or whatever, and you want to teach English abroad, take my advice and don't do it in a non-Hague country. Do it in a country that's already a member party of the Hague Apostille Convention. It will save you a lot of time and money and headaches. But luckily, in a month from now in September, Vietnam will be joining the Hague Apostille Convention and will then start accepting apostille documents instead of the consular legalization process I described that involves 2 or 3 agencies, including the Vietnamese embassy. No, the Hague Apostille process bypasses all that stuff. You go to your Secretary of State, you get 1 apostille stamp and you're done. I know the conventional wisdom. A lot of people watching this video are like, why didn't you get a job offer and then go to Vietnam? Well, that's not usually how Vietnam works. From what I understand, Vietnam, they would rather you be in the country first with all 3 of your documents fully legalized. And Vietnamese language schools would rather you be already in the country with your 3 papers already fully legalized and translated and notarized. And then there's always the conventional wisdom of why not do a scouting trip first? Go to the foreign country for like a month, see how you like it, and then come home and then apply for the job. I thought, well, I'm going to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. I'm going to go to Vietnam with all the knowledge and experience I gained from being in Mexico, Belize, and Guatemala. I'm going to go to Vietnam with my papers already either fully legalized or in the process of doing so. I've already got a list of employers. I contacted them at least a couple of times before I even went to Vietnam. I got some responses. Most didn't respond. I thought, well, let's get to Vietnam after Tet. Tet is a holiday in February where the country pretty much shuts down. So I showed up in Vietnam on February 24th, right after Tet was over, thinking that was a good time. Show up after Tet, there'll be a higher demand for teachers. Well, there was a post on Facebook completely contradicting that advice. They said February is the worst possible time to show up to Vietnam to do a job search. Now, you want to do it, in the summer, right before the school year is over, right before the new year starts in September. I'm not looking for a job in the public school system. I'm looking to work at adult language schools, teaching business language or IELTS to adults 18 or over, ideally. That was what I was looking for, but as I said earlier, no, it was mostly kindergarten teachers, and that was at universities. What about universities? Could I teach there? I don't have a master's degree, unfortunately. Most university, collegiate level jobs require a master's degree and some experience. The public school system, ideally, you should have a master's degree and a few years of experience, but the language schools were a little less stringent with their requirements. But the bottom line is in Vietnam, you definitely have to have a 4-year degree. Nearly all resources I've researched said you want to have a 4-year degree, which I have. That's not an issue. Your TEFL certificate should be at least 120 hours. Mine's 140 hours, so I easily meet that standard. Boots on the ground, even in Latin America and Southeast Asia, boots on the ground is a great way to look for the job because they see your face, they match your face to your CV, and you're a lot more memorable that way. Just remember to follow up. Have an Excel spreadsheet or some tracking tool or Google Sheets to track who you applied to, what the job was, the date, any notes you took, follow-up actions, when to follow up. All that's very important in a job search. In the middle of June, I had a conversation with my son about what's going on in his life, and that gave me some concerns about staying overseas on the other side of the world while my son is having some challenges. So I told my son, okay, I'll come back. I can come back to Arizona. And so I wrapped up my job search in the second half of June in Ho Chi Minh City. Although if I had more time, I might have made a dent, but even at that point, I still saw the writing on the wall. I was thinking, you know what? I don't know if this is going to work out. Okay, so to wrap up this video, yes, there's a very big TEFL job market in Vietnam, but in my experience, it's definitely slanted towards teachers of young children. If that's your wheelhouse, great, go for it. You could probably do very well in Vietnam. But my advice is get all your teaching credentials squared away, be flexible. If you really want to teach young learners, Hanoi, Da Nang, Saigon, those are all good possibilities, as well as other cities throughout the country. I haven't been anywhere else other than the 3 cities I just mentioned. But you can probably do pretty well in Vietnam if it's the right market for you. And that's that. So thank you for watching all the way to the end. Hope this answers your questions and piques your interest. If you're new to this channel, my name is Jason. This is the Spend channel, single parent, empty nester, digital nomad, where I teach empty nest single parents in the United States, 40 to 60, how to build a game plan for relocating abroad, either on a short-term basis or long-term. So thanks again. Appreciate your time, and we'll see you in the next video. Take care. Bye for now.